Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to peel back that thin veil of reality and just stare right into the abyss. We are talking about Eldritch Horror. And look, this is a genre that finds its terror not in what goes bump in the night, but in the silent, absolutely crushing vastness of the cosmos itself.
So, let me ask you, what really makes a story scary? I mean, our minds immediately jump to, monsters with sharp teeth, ghosts rattling around in the attic, maybe a killer behind a mask. And yeah, for sure, those things are terrifying. But there's another kind of fear, isn't there? A much deeper, more philosophical kind of dread. The kind that comes from finally understanding our true place in the universe.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. On one hand, you've got the horror we're all familiar with, right? It's all about external threats, monsters, slashers, that kind of thing. It taps right into our most primal fear of death and pain, and it usually relies on shock value, on gore. But Eldritch Horror? Man, that is a whole different beast. It's internal. The fear doesn't jump out at you. It comes from the unknown, from this slow dawning realization that just completely shatters your mind. It's all about atmosphere and this terrifying, humbling sense of awe.
And you know who absolutely nailed this idea? The master of the genre himself, H.P. Lovecraft. This quote right here, this is basically the philosophical backbone of everything we're about to get into. It's not about what you can see, it's about what you can't possibly comprehend.
All right, so who was this architect of cosmic dread? Let's dive into the man who didn't just write a few spooky tales. No, he created an entire subgenre, all built on a terrifyingly bleak worldview.
So just so we're all on the same page, you might hear this called a few different things. Eldritch horror, Lovecraftian horror, cosmic horror. They all kind of point to the same terrifying idea. The horror comes from concepts so vast, so alien, that they are literally beyond our ability to understand them. The true monster isn't some creature, it's a piece of knowledge, a truth you can never, ever unlearn.
Now, Lovecraft himself, he was writing back in the early 20th century, and he was getting, kind of bored with the horror of his day. Simple ghost stories, gothic tales. He had this incredible ambition. He wanted to take horror out of the haunted house and throw it into the cold, uncaring void of space. He wanted to make it truly cosmic.
And his impact? Oh, it's just undeniable. I mean, listen to what Stephen King, the Stephen King, had to say. When the modern master of horror gives you that kind of praise, you know you've left a serious, profound mark on the world.
Okay, now we're getting to the really interesting stuff. This is the core of it all. Because this isn't just about scary monsters. It's about a truly terrifying philosophy that sits at the very heart of Eldritch Horror. And it's called Cosmicism.
So what the heck is Cosmicism? Well, it's the literary philosophy that we don't matter at all. It says there's no divine presence, no grand plan for humanity. We are just a tiny, powerless, and totally insignificant speck in a massive, indifferent, and mechanical universe. That idea, that is the engine that drives all the dread in this genre.
And this is how it usually plays out in one of these stories. Our main character, often some kind of scholar or academic, they stumble upon some forbidden knowledge. They find an old book, a weird artifact, and they pull back that thin veil of ordinary life. And what they see is a reality so alien, so wrong, that just learning the truth is enough to drive them completely mad. See, the horror isn't being attacked by a monster. It's the internal shattering of your own sanity.
The author, China Miéville, sums this up so perfectly. He says Lovecraft's horror isn't one of intrusion, but of realization. A vampire, right? That's an intrusion. It's an external threat breaking into our normal world. But cosmic horror, that's a realization. The awful, bleak truth was always there, under the surface. The horror is that moment you're finally forced to acknowledge it.
So what exactly is this horrifying realization that breaks people's minds? Well, it's a few things. First, it's knowing that all of our human laws, our desires, our ideas of good and evil, they're completely meaningless on a cosmic scale. It's understanding that we are utterly helpless against vast, ancient powers we can't even begin to fathom. And maybe the worst part, the universe isn't hostile. It's not out to get us. It's worse. It's completely indifferent. It doesn't even know we're here.
Okay, so here's the really wild part. You might think this sounds kind of niche, right? This philosophical horror, but its tentacles have quietly snaked their way into almost every corner of pop culture. I promise you, you've experienced Eldritch Horror, even if you didn't know what to call it. So let's start where it began, in literature.
You've got Stephen King, who constantly pulls from Lovecraft's playbook with these ancient evils from other dimensions. Think about Pennywise in It. Then there's the brilliant Jorge Luis Borges, who explored these same kinds of mind-bending ideas of infinity and mazes that just overwhelm human reason. And get this, Robert Bloch, the guy who wrote Psycho, he was a good friend of Lovecraft's. They were both obsessed with the idea that the real horror is just how fragile our own minds are.
And from there, this dread just infected film and art. I mean, think about the iconic design of the xenomorph in Alien. That came directly from the artist H.R. Giger. And his book of paintings that inspired it, he literally named it Necronomicon, after Lovecraft's most famous imaginary evil book. That's not a coincidence. And you can see this DNA all over the work of masters like John Carpenter and Guillermo del Toro, who have basically built careers on this kind of cosmic dread.
So let's make this even clearer with some films you've definitely seen. Remember Alien? Yeah, the monster is scary, but the real terror is that crushing isolation, right? That feeling of being totally alone in a vast, empty universe that could not care less if you live or die. Or John Carpenter's The Thing? That is pure 100% Lovecraft. You've got paranoia, helplessness, and an enemy that is just unknowable. Even a more recent movie like Annihilation is a perfect modern example. The horror isn't some monster trying to kill them, it's the shimmer, this thing that's rewriting reality itself in a way that is both terrifying and kind of beautiful, and completely beyond our comprehension.
And it doesn't stop with movies. It's on TV too. You have classic shows like The Outer Limits that were all about human futility. But here's a really great modern example, the HBO series Chernobyl. A lot of people called it one of the best examples of cosmic horror ever made. And you might think, how? Well, think about it. The villain isn't a person. It's radiation. It's this invisible, indifferent, all-powerful force that destroys you from the inside out, and you can't fight it, you can't reason with it, you can barely even understand it.
And honestly, video games might just be the perfect medium for this stuff. I mean, games like Amnesia, The Dark Descent are famous because they don't let you fight back. You have to hide, making you feel completely helpless. Bloodborne is a total masterclass in this, a world where the more forbidden knowledge you gain, the more your sanity just drains away. And even a cool indie game like Dredge starts as this cozy little fishing game and then slowly turns into this creeping underwater cosmic horror story. It's brilliant.
So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. In Eldritch Horror, the scariest monster isn't hiding in your closet or under your bed. No, the most terrifying thing is that cold, crushing realization of the true scale of the universe and our tiny, utterly meaningless place within it.
Which kind of leaves us with one last really unsettling question, doesn't it? The heroes of these stories, they're always destroyed by the truth. They learn things that the human mind just wasn't built to handle. So in a universe as vast and indifferent as the one Lovecraft imagined, is it actually better not to know? Is ignorance really bliss?